Welcome back to the new session of Human Health and Disease. Now we are discussing the innate immunity. Now regarding the innate immunity, as we call it as the inborn immunity, the immunity that is present in our body right from the time of our birth, and it will be there throughout our lifespan also. Now this type of innate immunity we also call it as non-specific body defense, because it is not particular, it is not to a particular type of pathogen. It is the general immunity, overall immunity that stops, that inhibits all the microorganisms that enters into our body. So it preliminary tries to stop these microbes that will infect the human body. Now in case of the innate immunity, as we have came across the first line of body defense, and next part is the second line of body defense. Okay, now it's just an continued part of it. Now in the innate immunity, as it is a most important part, let us continue with the later parts. Now in the first part, we have studied regarding physical barriers, then came physiological barriers, then comes cellular barriers as well as cytokine barriers. Now physical barrier, it will physically resist the entry of the pathogens. Then physiological barriers, by secretion of certain substances or chemicals, it will resist the entry of pathogens that infects the body. And the third one that we are going to study is cellular barriers. Okay, as the name says, here cellular barriers refers to there are certain cells which belongs to the category of WBC, white blood cells, and these WBC cells are nothing but they are PMNL cells. That means there are certain cells that are involved in our body defense mechanism. That's why such type of barrier is also said to be cellular barrier. Then what is this type of cellular barrier? So it includes certain types of WBC cells like PMNL cells. PMNL refers to polymorphonuclear leukocytes. It is polymorphonuclear leukocytes. They are nothing but they are the type of WBC cells only. Okay, then apart from this, what are the other cells that are involved? Other cells are monocytes. Then other type of cell is natural killer cells. And one more type is monocytes, not monocytes, it is a macrophage. Now these macrophages, they are present in the tissues. Now how do they function actually? PMNL leukocytes, that means the polymorphonuclear leukocytes, are the type of the WBC cells that will identify a particular type of pathogen that has invaded our body, and ultimately by secretion of its cellular content it is going to kill it. Then let us take about the monocytes as well as the macrophages. Now monocytes as well as the macrophage cells. Now if we look at these two types of cells, monocytes are nothing but they are also the type of WBC cells. They are the type of WBC cells. The major function of the monocyte cells and macrophage cell, it is same only. Major function of the monocyte as well as macrophage. What is their function? So here I am going to write their function. Monocytes and macrophages are going to engulf the cells. These are going to engulf the cells and they are going to kill the cells. Okay, so monocytes and macrophage engulf the pathogens. Okay. Now these two different types of cells, so where exactly they are present? They are present in the WBC cells. Now here it is present in the tissues. So they undergo the process of engulfment of the pathogens. Such type or this process is said to be phagocytosis. It is said to be phagocytosis. Then the question comes, what is phagocytosis? Phagocytosis is the process of engulfment of the pathogen by a phagocytic cell or by a monocyte or macrophage cell. Now both together we use a single term. For this we can also call them as phagocytic cells. What is phagocytosis? It is a definition level question. Phagocytosis is engulfment of the pathogen by a phagocytic cell, which includes examples like monocytes as well as macrophages. Okay, there are various steps during the process of phagocytosis. So the steps includes ingestion, digestion as well as egestion. So what are these? I will tell you here. Now suppose let us consider this as a phagocytic cell, a macrophage cell, and outer to its body, suppose if the pathogen is there. Suppose if the pathogen is there, then what it will do? Now this cell, it mainly produces, this is a macrophage cell, it produces pseudopodia like structure. Then it will take inside its body, it produces pseudopodia like structure, then the pathogens will enter here, then ultimately by secretion of certain chemicals this is going to kill. Then after killing, next what it will do? Egestion. The killed pathogens are ejected out of the cells, released out of the cell. And for this process, what we say is the process of engulfment. Engulfment meaning to take in, okay, inside the cell. The process of engulfment of a pathogen by a phagocytic cell is said to be phagocytosis, and the process that we are going to come across. So this is an additional content which is not there for your NCERT. Okay. Now what are the steps that will occur here? So here this step is called as ingestion, this step is called as digestion, and the last step is called as egestion. So ingestion, digestion, egestion. So these are the steps that we observe during the process of phagocytosis by a phagocytic cell. And what are these phagocytic cells? Monocytes as well as macrophages, they are said to be phagocytic cells. Okay. PML neutrophils, these are the WBCs that are involved in killing up of the pathogens. Okay. So again they will secrete certain chemicals. That's why such type of barrier we call it as cellular barriers, because the cells are directly involved in encountering the pathogens. Okay, then natural killer cells. Natural killer cells, where we also call them as NK cells. We also call them as NK cells. These natural killer cells, what they do is they will identify. Now suppose if this NK cell, these will identify the pathogen which is moving in the body, in the blood. Then these NK cells, when they identify by secretion of chemicals, and these chemicals are released outside, which will kill the pathogen. By secreting certain lytic chemicals, they are going to kill these pathogens. That's why the name natural killer cells. Okay, right. And sometimes these NK cells also kills those cells which are infected. Okay, because infected cells have the chance of multiplication of the pathogen. That's why, and during that condition also they can kill those cells which are infected. Okay, so that's why the name natural killer cells, right. So this is the cellular barrier which forms the second line of body defense. So at the end point, what we are going to write is, it forms the second line of body defense. It forms the second line of body defense. Okay. So this is the cellular barrier that comes under the innate immunity, and as we say innate immunity, this is the immunity that is present in our body from the time of our birth, and hence in this innate immunity, the third one where we also call it as second line of body defense, it includes cellular barriers, that in which 4 different types of cells, PMNL, monocytes, NK cells, macrophages are involved, and these cells will kill the pathogens and it brings immunity to the body. Okay. So with this we will move on to the last part of the innate immunity. The last part, the fourth one is cytokine barrier. Now this cytokine barrier, it includes certain chemicals where we call it as interferons. It includes interferons. Then the question comes, what are interferons? This is the most important question which will be asked for an objective part also. So interferons are, these are antiviral substances Look at the statement. The word that is most important is antiviral substances. So interferons are the antiviral substances which disrupts the viral multiplication. That means these are the substances that are produced against the virus. So interferons are the antiviral substances that are produced against the virus which is going to kill it. Okay. Now these interferons, how exactly they are produced? Now suppose if we take the cell, this is the cell, and let's take the virus here. Now when the virus infects the host cell, then what will happen? This host cell gets infected by the virus, and the property of the virus is it starts to multiply inside the host cell. This is the main criteria or the genetic material which is present in the virus in the form of either RNA or DNA. Now this its genetic material, it will combine with the genetic material or the DNA of the host cell and it tries to multiply. It will multiply definitely. So here it goes on multiplying, here it goes on multiplying. Now when the body cell gets infected with the virus, our body cell will produce certain chemicals outside. Okay, from its outer layer they will produce chemicals. These chemicals are said to be interferons. They are interferons. Okay. Now this cell, after viral multiplication, it gets busted out, because the virus, when they are released out, they will burst the cell, they are released. When these are released, now what it will do? The virus will come here. The virus will come here. Here we have the host cell. Now this new virus, is having the chance to infect our host cell. As a result, what our interferons will do is they will move and it will come in between. Look at this, they will move and it tries to stop the pathogens to enter into the host cell. That means it stops. That's why we say disrupt. Disrupt meaning stopping what? The viral multiplication. Where? In the new cell. Okay. Then this interferons does not allow the virus to enter into the host cell, thereby preventing our host cell, because if the cells are protected, ultimately we are protected. Now what it will do? It comes in the middle. Then after that, next what will happen? Here we have certain macrophage or monocyte cells. These macrophage cells, they will come and they will engulf this pathogen. When it engulfs, then it will kill it, right? Now look at the process. That means in our body, our immune system alone does not work or function. All together will combine and work. They will show their synergy, the combined energy. All together, all the immune system will work together. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಇದಕ್ಕೇನಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ? ಒಗ್ಗಟ್ಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಬಲವಿದೆ. ಸೇಮ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ ವಿತ್ ದ ಇಮ್ಯೂನ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ. ಓಕೆ, ನಮ್ಮ ಬಾಡಿ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಯಾವುದೋ ಪ್ಯಾಥೋಜನ್ ಬಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಇದು ನಂದಲ್ಲ, ಇದು ನಿಂದಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ತನ್ನಕ್ಕೆ ಬರೋಂಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಯಾವುದು ಬಂದರೂ ಕೂಡ್ಸ್ ಅಟ್ಯಾಕ್ ಮಾಡೋದ. ಓಕೆ, ದೇ ವಿಲ್ ಕಿಲ್ ಈಚ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಎವ್ರಿ ಪ್ಯಾಥೋಜನ್. ಓಕೆ, ಆಲ್ ಟುಗೆದರ್ ವಿಲ್ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್, ರೈಟ್? So this is how the interferons are produced, and they are produced mainly against a virus. Which amongst the following substances or cells are produced against virus? Remember, they are interferons. Okay, and they are produced by virus infected cells in the body. Okay, then apart from this, there is one more term where we call it as a inflammatory response, which is not there for your syllabi, but it's connected to the cytokine barrier also. So what is that? I will tell you. It's an additional part here. Okay, it's said to be inflammatory response. Inflammation meaning burning sensation. Inflammation meaning burning sensation. Okay. So what is the inflammatory response? This is the inflammatory response that our body shows when we get injury. Then what are these inflammatory response, and when does it occurs? Okay, then what are its symptoms? The responses that are shown by the inflammation are pain, redness, swelling and irritation. Okay, what exactly it means? Whenever we are running, walking or whatever you are doing, whenever you fall on the ground surface, then your skin gets teared, ruptured. When the skin gets ruptured, then our body will show this response. What is that? When the skin gets ruptured, when you fall on, okay, little bit forcefully, when you get damage, injury, then initially there will be pain. When you fall, there will be initially slight pain you will feel when you just get up. Then redness, to that region where it got injured, there will be redness, definitely you know it. Then swelling, initially there will be slight swell, later on it may swell little bit more also. Then irritation, irritation is burning sensation, ಉರಿದದಂತ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಬಿದ್ದಾಗ ಗಾಯ ಆದಾಗ ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ನಮಗೆ ಸಿಂಪ್ಟಮ್ಸ್ ಇರ್ತಾವೆ, ಬರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಸೆನ್ಸೇಷನ್ ಇದ್ದೇ ಇರ್ತದೆ, ಗೊತ್ತದೆ ನಿಮಗೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ. ಓಕೆ, why does it burns and why does the body has to show all this inflammatory response? This is because when you fall on the ground surface, ಯಾರು ಸ್ವಚ್ಛ ಜಾಗ ನೋಡಿ ಬೀಳಂಗಿಲ್ಲ, ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟುಡ್? ಅವಾಗ ಬಿದ್ದಾಗ ಏನಾಗ್ತತಿ, ನಮ್ಮ ಸ್ಕಿನ್ ಟಿಯರ್ ಆಗ್ತದ. ವೆನ್ ದ ಸ್ಕಿನ್ ಟಿಯರ್ಸ್, chance of entry of the pathogen is very high. Okay, they can enter in speed manner because lot of dust particles will be there, mud will be there, understood? So pathogens will enter directly into the blood because the barrier is lost, skin is lost. At that time body will show all the symptoms. So initially pain, redness, swelling, irritation. Burning yakagtatandra, it is just like a alarm, fire brigade alarm. Okay, fire brigade alarm ಹೊಡೆಯತ್ತಂತಾರೆ ಎಲ್ಲೋ ಬೆಂಕಿ ಹತ್ತೈತಂತ ಅರ್ಥ, ಇಲ್ಲೂ ಬೆಂಕಿ ಹತ್ತಿರ್ತದೆ. ಯಾಕೆ? Because pathogen entry is very fast. Then when this irritation occurs, when the burning sensation occurs, then all our cells, so till now whatever you have studied, all will come to this area. Look at this, to kill the pathogens. Understood? So that's why when the pathogen activity is inhibited by our body defense mechanism, ultimately the killed cells are removed in the form of pus. Later on the skin is reformed. Look at the wonder of the body defense mechanism that we have in our immune system. Okay, so this is the best method that we can quote, that our body tries to prevent ourselves from the entry of the pathogens, even the infection of the pathogens. Okay, if the pathogen activity is overruled, then only we get different types of disease. Understood? So this is the process of the innate immunity, and in the last point you can write the same thing that we have quoted here. The same thing is, it forms the second line of body defense. That means, remember, in the innate immunity we have two body defense mechanism. The first one is first line of body defense, that includes two types: physical barrier, physiological barrier. The second line of body defense includes cellular barrier as well as cytokine barriers. Okay, so with this we are going to end up with the innate immunity. The next type of immunity is what? Acquired immunity. And regarding the acquired immunity, we will study it. Okay, so till then stay tuned. We'll come back with the acquired immunity.